My name is Joyce Spencer, and I teach at Chatham Elementary, which is in Pennsylvania County. And I'm working with 5th grade this year. I have a 5th grade reading class and a 5th grade math class. I have been teaching, I think this is the 40th year. The lesson that you did today was on multiplication of decimals. But before we could actually do it, they needed to understand about decimals. You multiply them like you do whole numbers. But when it comes to putting the decimal in, they had to know the correct place. So we did sort of like a little pre-lesson before the video where they actually realized that you count the numbers behind the decimal point, and that total number is what goes in the answer. It'll tell you where the decimal point will go in the answer. But what they were doing is really, it's called the area model. You'd work with it with whole numbers. We had worked with it before dealing with whole numbers, and it's a little easier with whole numbers and more challenging with decimals, which we found out today. Okay, guys, let's see how we come along over here. Okay, what you come up with?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Okay,
so 1,200.
Yep, you came up with 12, but remember, what do we have?
Decimals.
Decimals.
So it'd be 1,
12.
1 and 12.
How many decimals?
No, it'd be 12.
How many decimals?
1 and 2.
But how many?
1 and 2.
Okay, you got that.
1 and 22. No.
Think about it.
1 and 20. 100.
No.
1 and 2 tenths. 12. Just 12.
How many? Stop and think. That's 12, right? Now, how many decimal points do we have? How many digits behind the decimal point?
2.
2. So what's your answer going to be?
2.
It's going to be
12 and
12.
1,200.
1,200. Right? 1,200.
Yeah, 1,200.
Okay. Even though that's whole, but that whole is divided into what?
100.
It takes how many hundreds to make one whole? No.
No, 1.
Remember, we traded the 10 out for.
No, it takes 10. It takes 1 whole to make 10 tens.
10 tenths to make one whole.
Oh,
so
yeah.
how many hundreds would it take?
1.
100
equals
100
hundredths.
to make. But the kids, it really enjoy this method, and it keeps them really engaged. And the reason I did this is because I have a lot of kids who, when they multiply, they forget to carry, and therefore they get the answer wrong. So I said, well, it's probably easier if they can have something where they can use a manipulative. We start with a manipulative where they end up, they will actually draw it out like we were trying to do on the board at first before they actually started working, and they draw it out. And that way they can see it, and they don't have to worry about now, did I remember to carry the 1, or did I remember to carry the 5? Did I just remember to carry, and all? And that happens to be one of several ways that I teach multiplication. And this is the one with the manipulatives. And I found it to be very successful with SPED students, because I've taught SPED math also. I found it very beneficial with them because it keeps them engaged, and they understand the concept that I'm multiplying is expanding. And then too, it gives you a chance to sort of do a little pre-teaching of area, because they realize that, oh, this is the length and this is the width, and I'm just trying to find the inside, and that's the area. So that's why it's the name area model, because you are finding the area. Well, the challenge that I found today in the lesson, I believe I stated before, was that with decimals, you have to remember when you look at, even though the big block was considered to be your whole number, when you're counting them up, you have to realize that that's 10 tens, and you have to multiply that by the number 10. And the only other thing is they'll have to remember after they add it all up, they have to think about the decimal places, and when they write the answer, they put the decimal place in the correct place. Yes, the comp classes were very useful, very helpful to me. And I like because you got supplies. The one that I was in the algebra class. And I got manipulatives. And also I took one with fractions. And I took the fraction one as well. And we got a lot of manipulatives dealing with fractions and a lot of ideas how to use manipulatives with fractions to teach students how to add, subtract, multiply, divide fractions and equivalents and everything. And I used it last year. But some of the kids that you saw in the video today, I also used them. I used it with them last year because I had 4th grade math last year. And I used it with them. That's how I taught fractions. A lot of improvements because it's hands-on. Because everybody doesn't learn lecture style. Some people have to have hands-on and they have to play with it and tear it apart and put it together. And I guess one of the reasons I really didn't like using manipulatives is because I'm a visual tactile learner. And that's how I learned this. And that's how I can present it best to the students. Is using visual aids. I use a lot of visual aids in everything. Basically, when I first started teaching math, so I was in Title I math, and we had to really, it was just working problems, and the kids just wasn't getting it. And so I'm one of these people, I'm always out there searching, trying to find something new and innovative. And when the classes and things became available in it, I would go, take the classes, and then try to bring it back. But sometimes I wouldn't use it because it gets you, to me it seemed like I was getting behind and wasn't keeping up with the pacing guide that the county provides for us. And I had to get to the point that realizing, well, hey, if they're getting the understanding with the manipulative, it's better to use the manipulative and be maybe a week or 2 behind on the pacing guide because eventually they're caught up because they're going to get the understanding. Just like with today's lesson. I'm not supposed to be teaching area right now, but when we get to area, they can relate it. Oh, that's what we did with those blocks when we were multiplying, and we filled in the inside and counted it. So that it's sort of, they can relate to it. So really, when you can use manipulatives, you can also link it to something else that you may have to teach down the road. And so, therefore, that's when I realized that, hey, this is the way to go. And I've been an advocate for it. And I've been trying to tell other teachers, hey, you need to use those manipulatives. Yes, I make up assessments. We have, I use several different sources. I use walk around and just teacher observation is one. I'll do maybe paper pencil one, maybe 1 or 2 problems just to see. And then, of course, I use the formal assessment, and that's where I pull things from our math series or Test for Higher Standards, or we have, oh gosh, I can't think of it right now, the one we have. But we also have a program that we can pull some things from. Some things, they can just work it in math, and believe it or not, you can have higher order thinking questions in math. And I tried to include 1 or 2 of those.